Hey guys, welcome in, welcome in. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. I am, and I hope you are as well. You guys have heard the topic, you guys have heard the title, you've seen the title. So if you guys are here, please, you guys already know what to expect. I am not responsible for anyone's feelings being hurt. I want to make that disclaimer right now. If you are sensitive, you need not be here today. So, guys, I want to say I am so happy to be here. I have injured my hand a little bit, but it's okay. It's getting better. And I see your guys' comments. Guys, take it easy. I'm sure we're going to be able to talk about this subject calmly and civilly, won't we? Hi, Celine. Hi, Celine. How are you doing? Hey, Scam Likely. How are you? Alexandra. Hey, girl. Oh, gosh, so pretty. Hi, Jordan. Thank you so much. And Shuro says it's going to get crazy. No. Of course not. That never happens here. We are all very responsible civil people, aren't we? No, we're going to see today. Hi, Queen Lala. Queen Lala says that she is the security of this channel. I may need you today. So, all right, guys, here we go. So this topic, hello, Chucky, hello. No, I didn't punch anyone. I swear I didn't. I swear I've been being good. Rila! Hi, Rila. How are you, Rila? I think I need you here today, too. All right, here we go. So you guys saw the title. You already see what it's about. This topic, now, we have been dancing around this topic for a really long time. I did not really want to get into this because this is very sensitive. I understand that a lot of people can get offended or, it can ruffle feathers. So we're doing it today because why not? So reasons why other races tend not to date Black people, or the Black community, American Black people, we'll get into it. So I want to start off with the first thing, and that is, as you guys see on the scroll below me, the condemnation. So, God, here we go. Oftentimes, when a person chooses or falls in love with a person that is Black, there's a lot of condemnation from the family. A lot of the family do not approve, and there is a lot of shunning. There's a lot of gossip, a lot of undertalk, and a lot of talking behind your back. There's a lot of, well, what will the children be? What we're going to expect from this? Is this not going to be good? This is not going to be good. Maybe we shouldn't invite them to the family reunion. Maybe we shouldn't bring them around anymore. And do I agree with this? I do not. So let me remind you guys this. I don't agree with everything I'm going to say, but I will try to be as honest as possible with you because these are things that are said commonly. So the condemnation. There's a lot of condemnation when a person dates a Black person. And there actually is a list online. I'm going to read it to you. I found some like Reddit posts and people who are actually dating with a Black person, and they spoke about their experiences. Number one being derogatory comments in public, people snickering, side eyes, even outright saying like, what are you guys doing together? There's a loss of contact with family and friends. There are negative comments online or in the media. There is negative stereotyping. Stereotyping, I'm a little bit, I don't know about stereotyping too much because I do know that stereotypes do come from somewhere. Does it mean that the person is acting on said stereotype? It does not. The next one is open hostility and intimidation. So people trying to intimidate you or being hostile towards you to get you to separate or to get you to regret ever choosing to be in a relationship with said person. There's rejection from family, as we guys said, or being even disinherited. Now, you guys know that I work for law firms. Constantly, I'm seeing people being taken off of wills, off of last testaments, and so on and so forth. It happens. And there's also a sense of isolation because a lot of times in those kind of relationships, the other person, well, I would say the person that is not Black tends to feel isolated because they can no longer go back to their family, friends, or so on, out of fear of being rejected, being, what is the word? Not insulted, ridiculed, of getting ridiculed and so on, and shamed. And like I said, there are stares, insults, slights, and whispers. So coming back to this screen, what is the stigma? The stigma typically, typically the stigma is, oh God. All right. The stigma is that a person, if there's two types, right? There's the stigma of the successful person, and then there's also the ones that you see commonly at Walmart. So the other stigma is that typically the fat, unwanted white woman will end up with a Black man, or or the very successful Black man, whether he's an entertainer, sports player, what have you, ends up with a white woman. But that white woman is most likely a gold digger. But it is possible to fall in love. It is possible to fall in love. I'm not saying it's not. One of the biggest problems that we see with this kind of dating is cultural differences. The cultural differences are vast, and it's one of the highest reasons why someone would disapprove of their child being in a relationship with a Black, or I'm sorry, a Black man or woman. When I speak about culture, I'm talking about the American Black culture, which, you guys, you can label it how you want. I see you as American, just American, but in America, I do understand that there are some differences, and I know that a lot of people, a lot of families do not want those kind of cultural influences on the future generations. Culture could be, it could be, oh man, it could be music, it could be slang, it could be um, the dressing a certain way, and so it could be anything. And a lot of families, they don't want to interrupt whatever cultural influence, you could say, cultural traditions that they have going on. A lot of people don't want to interrupt that. Now, the reason I said American is because there are situations like Nigerians, Kenyans, and you could say these people are Black, but the culture difference is vast. And I believe, now this is just my opinion, but I do believe that when people are speaking about not wanting to date a Black person, I think that they're talking about the American Black person. And I have reasons for saying that. If you guys want to speak to me about it, you can. What? Oh, right. And this is another reason why I wanted to speak about the cultural differences. Now, if anyone here is of Caribbean, African descent, please call in because I would love to hear your opinion on cultural differences that you've experienced if you have dated maybe white or Asian or what have you. I would love to hear about those cultural differences because some cultures are very much about their traditions, very much about being homogenic. You guys understand what I'm saying? Keeping your genetics one way. So especially like the Asian culture, they are very particular about keeping things the same, the traditions, and they don't accept almost anyone, but more than likely they less accept the Black American because they're like, it's too much of a difference. It's, yeah. The next largest thing that I'm going to speak about, now this is something I don't hear anyone speaking about it, and I'm going to say it because here we are and we're doing this together, aren't we? We're doing this together? Yeah. Okay. All right. Biological and genetic changes. Now, I would say that the Black genes are so strong, melanin is so strong that no matter who you mix with, it's going to change the next generation for a very long time. So you mix that gene with anyone, it's going to make a lot of changes in skin color, hair texture, everything is going to change. And a lot of people, especially coming back from, let's say, my grandparents or your grandparents, that generation, they want to look at their grandchildren and see themselves when they were kids, because people like to look at the grandchildren and say, oh look, they have my eyes, oh look, they have my ears, oh look, you look just like your great grandfather. The difference is when a person, when their child, let's say your daughter or your son, gets married to a black person, that those um, those genetic traits are going to most likely get lost, because for them, they're not going to look at the grandchild and say, oh look, you look just like your great grandfather, because the child will look so different from the rest of the family. And I think that is a lot of the reasons why a lot of families say they do not want to mix so much. And I don't really know. um, we do know about redlining and all of that, but I don't really know, because the inacceptance of in the communities, as you see, where they said that they didn't want to accept anyone different. Do you guys remember, like back in the redlining ages, where they had signs that said, only whites only, no, no, what is it? God, I did the way that they said it is so racist. I don't even want to say it that way. Let's just say it in modern American terms. That no blacks, no Asians, no whatever have you, no one else, right? I believe that this was part of the reason, because they were so worried about the genetics, the genes changing. Because if their daughter falls in love with a black man, that's the end of your lineage look. I would say the way that you guys look, the way that your family looks, and that is a big deal for a lot of people. The other thing, biological and genetic changes. Another example is a white woman dates, marries, procreates with a black man. Of course, the children will not look like her mostly. They're going to start looking different. They're going to look mixed. I believe that mixed kids are beautiful, but typically they don't really look like either of their grandparents. They look like a mix of some sort. So, yes, they can have the features, but like I said, there's so many different things that they don't really look like either of the grandparents. So, in this case, if that woman separates from said black man, she tries to go back with a white man. Let's say she falls in love with a white man. The white man comes and sees that she has black children. There is a stigma to that. There is, I wouldn't go so far as to call it a shame, but it's almost like it's too obvious that in public you're going to get a lot of stares. People are going to look at you because you look crazy with you and this woman and then the black children, because people are going to say, those aren't your kids. And everyone knows that they're not your kids. So it's embarrassing for the man, in a way, to walk around with that kind of situation. Sorry, guys, 1 second. It's embarrassing for the man to walk around with that obvious sign of, these are not my children and I'm here. Okay. Thank you, Jazz. I appreciate it. So that the biological and genetic changes. Next is the social scarlet letter that comes with dating, procreating, and marrying black. So the social scarlet letter goes along with the woman. Like I said, the woman that has black children, she is almost now only for black men, because there's not that many white men that want to come behind that and take that on socially, because in front of the world, men care about how they look. In a way, they care about their image, they care about what other men are saying about them. Because I guess for us women, yeah, we care, but then we don't care that much, because we're like, whatever, it's my life, I can do it. But for men, I believe it is something like, I think it's harder for men to get get talked about in front of other men, because I don't know, it kind of ruins their image, their what have you. Now, it's not just for the color, it's because it is obvious that those aren't your children. That's what I'm saying, if you guys understand what I'm saying. The other one is the on I would say on the man side is, well, you know what? I'm going to ask you guys about that. I'd rather ask you guys about that than speak on it. I'm going to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking you, how do women feel in the Black community about a man who dated a white woman, married with her, has children with her, and then he comes back to the Black community, or he says, now I only want to date exclusively Black women again. What is the feeling towards that man, and is it more acceptable than it is for the white community? Because the white community almost completely shuns a woman who has had Black children. It's like, you're not coming back. How is it for the Black man? I'm curious to know. In conclusion to my little monologue here, I want to ask you guys, I want to put the link in because I do want you, Rila, damaged goods, Rila, don't, oh my God, he's so hard, so harsh on women. Right, I do want to put the link in because I do want you guys to come and speak with me about it. But in conclusion to this, I want to ask you guys, what do you think? What do you think is the most damning factor out of all the factors that I've given you? Or do you think I'm missing something? Because like I said, I'm going through condemnation, stigma, the cultural differences, and the biological and genetic changes that happens when a person who is not Black procreates, marries a person that is. Because there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of stigma and a lot of stereotype that comes with that. And let's be completely honest to one another here. Let's be completely honest. Like, there are men out there who are non-Black, and if they find out that the person that they're dating has either dated, procreated, or married a Black person, that they will not date them anymore. There, it happens. So what is the most damning factor? I'm asking you. I want an honest answer. In my opinion, I believe it is the, for certain generations, for the older generation, I believe it is the biological and genetic changes, because they will not see themselves in their grandchildren. I think that bothers them to no end, that they won't be able to look at their grandchildren and see themselves. They will see, a portion, possibly a little bit, but not, they will not have that image like you would if the genes were more similar. And the other one that I would say is the cultural differences, because, you know, mm, in every interracial couple, there's going to be cultural differences. But in the American side, I really don't see that many differences, because I guess I don't look at Americans this way. I see you guys, as a person, as an outsider, we see you guys as just Americans. But Americans, you guys see more differences within yourselves than I do. I do see a difference in speech patterns. I do see a difference in maybe how each person says hello to one another. I've noticed that white people do not salute each other the same way that Black people do. But I'm sure there's more differences that I am missing, so I will leave that up to you guys. Like I said, my question to you, to the people who are coming in, what is the most damning factor that you see in this situation with non-Blacks dating, marrying, and procreating with Blacks? I want to welcome in Mr. Scam Likely. Welcome in. Can you turn on your camera, please? Are you there? Well, hold on, let me take him down. When you come back, just let me know. So, and my last question, do you agree or do you disagree with my overview, I guess? Do you disagree with what I'm saying, or do you agree? And do you think that it is racism or racist for a person to have this preference? If a person says, I would prefer that my child, sorry, I would prefer that my child does not date Black, is that racist? Are they automatically considered racist because they don't want their genes, their genetics, or what have you, their family genetics to change? Or are they racist because they don't want the cultural differences? Now, you could also say this about me. You could also say this about my culture, my race. You could also say, let's see, if I were to try to date a white man, or a white man were to try to marry me, well, first of all, that wouldn't happen. But if it did, the same thing would happen in my side, where maybe the family would not accept me. Maybe they would say, "Oh no, we don't want those sand monkeys in our bloodstream. No, 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 no. We don't want that. We don't want these halala halala people." It's happened. It has happened, and yes, But one thing is, like I said, I believe that the black genes are way stronger than any other. And you guys know that too. When you have, if a white person was to mix with my DNA, it will be very different than if it were to mix with a black woman's DNA. So, you guys, I'm open. I'm ready to hear you out. Please welcome Mr. Phillip. Can you give me a wave, please? Thank you so much, sir. Welcome then, Mr. Harris.
Hello. Thank you for
Hi,
having me on.
welcome.
Um,
So what do you think is what do you think is the biggest issue with people when they say they do not want their children or they do not want to date, marry, and procreate with blacks themselves? What do you think is the biggest reason?
I think most people don't give a big brain thought to it. I would say it mostly boils down to genetics, wanting to see yourself in your children, because your children are a representation of yourself. Um, Same thing with the grandparents. The grandparents want to see their bloodline continue through them, just like the grandfathers want to see their name continue through their grandsons and their bloodline continue through their granddaughters. So
Hmm.
I don't think it's a big brain um, explanation. It's more of a lizard brain type of response.
See, Kay, if Kay is listening, there is a such thing as a lizard brain. She ridiculed me because I spoke about the lizard brain. A lot of people don't know, but it is a scientific term, but a lot of people have never heard it, so it does sound strange. Mr. Scam Likely, what is your view on this?
Um, I don't think it is all this of what it is and the whole science. At the end of the day, black man meets other race woman. Let's say she's Spanish, and you go home and she says, "I don't want you to date a Spanish woman." You can either say, "Yes, I'm going to do it anyway," or you can say, "No, I'm not." You go and make a Spanish or a mixed black and white child. Hey, here's Junior. They can say, "Hey, we accept Junior," or "No, we don't." Why this woman doesn't want to date the guy who's black or the white guy? Because they don't. Why does this Asian guy not want to date a Middle Eastern woman? Because he doesn't. Why does this black woman over here want to go divest and get a white man? Because she does. And a white man's job is to say, yes, I want that black woman, or no, I don't want that black woman. If there's some
So,
science and because of the kids is going to have a blue eyeball and because of the hands are going to look, if they say so, fine, whatever. If it's really that serious, you know what? Say no. Cool. It is. I just
you're not answering my question, Mr. Scam Likely. What is the reason? What is the main reason why? I gave you four options. You can choose those or you can
the
give me a
truth.
different one.
The truth is because they don't. They could be one of the four, or they can just they don't. They could be racist. They could not like the they. I don't like his hands and his eye sockets and scientifical whatever. Whatever they just choose, but at the end of the day, all that matters is I don't want you dating this person. You can say yes or you can say no. That's all that matters.
Jazz, what do you think, Jazz?
They don't like you. That's why.
It's I
Well,
don't know if it's about liking, sir, because liking someone, you can like someone, it doesn't mean that you want them to be a part of your family.
But
So,
obviously, they don't want you in their family. I don't
okay, well,
want him a part
that's
of my
okay.
family.
That's good
The
enough. Thank
reason
you.
the reason doesn't really make that much of a difference because you're still going to be black tomorrow, or you're
Well,
still
it does
going
make a difference. It really does make a difference because a lot of people feel that it is racist for a person to have this preference. A lot of people think that it's just hatred. And I do not believe that it's only hatred. I do believe that there are people who are hateful, yes. But I don't believe that every person who says that they don't want the genes, different genes in their family is racist. I don't think that it is, but I could be wrong. That's what I'm asking you all. What do you think about that?
well, I don't quite. I mean, of course, like you said, some people are hateful, but I don't believe it's racist, and I kind of believe that it's like a double standard because in black homes, the black mothers are like, "You better not bring home no black or no white girl." We hear this all the time, and we don't bat an eye. We don't think it's racist until the shoe is on the other foot. So it's one of those things. And like you said earlier, I think it has a lot to do with, at least for the other races, they understand or they believe that Black people may have a shorter stick, or we have the, you know, we have a lot of things that we have to battle through, and they probably don't want to see their grandchildren have to deal with that. So I think that has to do with it. And I also believe they just simply don't want, you know, those genes if that's preferable. Now, if those mothers, grandmothers, or whoever are saying, "Oh, don't bring home that no N word, and you're not going to be a part of my family anymore if you do decide to do so," I believe that's racist, because that can be, it's hateful.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's all about preference. And at the end of the day, if you choose to do what you want to do, who cares what your parents think, anyways?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing about the whole, like you guys know, I work in law firms. I've seen people being taken off of the wills, you know, for who they married. I mean, it goes down to that serious. Like, you will not even have inheritance because you married said person. I'm going to bring in Mr. Williamson and Mr. Mandrell. Can I get you to give me a wave or peace sign or some sign of life? Thank you. And then I will get in Mr. Williamson as well. Mr. Williamson, the
Uh-oh.
controversy king. Welcome
Not
in, welcome
Mandrill.
in.
Yes, Mandrill.
Oh hell. This guy.
Guys, what is the main reason why do you believe that non-black families choose or say that they will not be accepting or they do not prefer their children bring home a black person?
I can't believe you even asking this question. Like, we all know the answer.
Oh,
I mean, it's simple. It's image. Look at the image that Black people have in this country. It's bled over into other countries. Like, when I go to other countries, they expect me to sag my pants. They expect me to behave a certain way. But when I meet them and talk to them, and I don't behave that way, they're like, "Oh, well, he's just a person." I'm just like, and I've been told this by, by different people in different countries, and even here. "Oh, you're just a guy." I'm like, "Yeah, what you expect?" I mean, the nonsense you see on TV, that's just television. I tell them all the time, that's just media. You know what I mean? That's all it is. But
wait, what's just
but
media? Can you explain what
the
you mean by
image of
that?
Black people, you see a lot of images in Black people or in media that are that's negative. Let's face the truth. It is what it is. There are always the bad guys in the movies. Not so much these days because things are turning around. But the problem is the damage is done. The
So you
damage is
think the
done.
media is responsible for the black community's image, or is it that the image that we see on the films are based on reality?
Not always, no. What you see on film when it comes to like thugs, gangsters, stuff like that, that's a very, very small, and I do mean very small subsect of black Americans.
Hmm.
Right? There are many
Caricatures.
of us, yeah, they're caricatures, like minstrel shows.
Mm.
Now you do have some people who behave that way. That's why I say it's a small subsect of it. But most of us, we don't behave that way. And let's be honest, it's bled over into black culture as well. Because Scam Likely and I have talked before, and I told him, dude, I used to live in Atlanta, especially when I first got out of the army, right? And I've been on several dates with several different black women.
Mr.
These
Lappy.
black and these black women have told me that I should date outside my race while I'm on a date with them. And it's because of image, right? And I'm like, okay, here you are. We're taught to go to college, get a job, be productive, all this, be one of the best and brightest. And so when black women meet one of their best and brightest, they reject it out of hand. You know what I mean? They suggest that our best and brightest go and date outside our race. And it's like, what's this?
Well,
It's
can I
because
say
of
something?
stereotypes.
I would like to share something with you all. Like, since we're here, we're speaking about this topic. One thing that I kind of, I don't know whether to be proud of this or not, but my thing is, I do believe that it is best if we all stayed with our own. I do believe it. It makes it easier. But am I saying that interracial couples shouldn't happen? No, not really. But I'm saying it does bring a whole hill of problems and issues with the children, even the children growing up. not finding their identity, not knowing who they are, not knowing what side to go to, it creates a lot of problems.
I
So I am
disagree.
a fan
No,
of.
I disagree wholeheartedly. That child is a child of two worlds.
Mhm.
That makes that child even more special.
Someone said it's too late.
It's too late, Amira.
I
Kind of
would
is, Amira. I mean, it's a child of two worlds, Amira. That makes it beautiful. They get the experience and knowledge of
Mm,
two completely different cultures. That makes them a much more well-rounded human being as they grow. And
mhm.
once they move into adulthood, and get ready to get out into the world, they're far ahead of any normal child who's a child of just one race and one culture. They're leaps and bounds ahead of them.
I mean, you may think that. One moment. I want to say thank you to the super chat. Thank you, Mr. Van Johnson. He says nothing wrong with preference for your own, but when you point out black people specifically, it's racism. We have to call it what it is. These other culture will gladly accept a white man into their family, but not a black man. This is why I spoke about the Thank you so much, Mr. Van Johnson. This is why I spoke about the genetic differences, because yes, you can say it. Singling out the black group is racist, but at the same time, there's no other genetics that change the genetic lineage like black genes, in my view. Am I wrong?
It's a fact. It's a fact.
That's
Black
true.
black black genes are very potent.
The most dominant. The most dominant.
Yeah, yeah. Black
Very
genes are
dominant.
very potent. Yes, they are the most dominant. And
Patty
again,
cake.
it's image. Once you see, your family has a dark child in the family, there's shame. Now, what you have to do is find out, why is there shame in the first place? Like, why do you not like it? Is it because the child is black or comes from African American heritage or African heritage or whatever the case may be? If it
Mhm.
is because of that the other parent's culture or race, then yes, it is racist. But I know plenty of people who I just want to make a black family. I know plenty of people who say that and believe it, not because they hate other cultures or anything or any other races. They just prefer to make black babies. Saying, I knew white guys in the army. And we talked about it. They just prefer to make white babies. And that
Right.
in itself isn't racist. That's just a preference. It's not racist to have that preference. But when you
Mhm.
get into, well, I don't know, I don't, I'm ashamed of that. Now, when it comes to shame or disappointment, now you're racist.
I want to get everyone else's view. Thank you so much, Mr. Mandrell. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Mandrell,
Mandrell. Okay,
yeah.
Mandrell. Mr. Williamson, the controversy king. Miss Patty Cakes, welcome in. I'm so happy to see you again. And Mr. Lockett, welcome in, the three of you.
How
Feel
you
free to
doing?
jump in whenever you please.
Well, interracial dating is something that is kind of, I guess you could say it's an American invention, even though people have been mixing race all over the world since the beginning of time. It's probably most popular recently because of the United States. And with the black community, the offspring of the interracial relationships usually grow up in the black neighborhood. When a couple would get married historically, interracially in this country, it was usually the black family that was more accepting of the partnership than the non-black family, and
Mhm.
so therefore the black person with his or her non-black partner would end up raising their child in the black neighborhood. And because of the one drop rule, and I'm not even going to go into it, just Google it, please, or Wikipedia it.
Yeah.
But because of the one drop rule, we've always understood that anyone with any percentage of black DNA is a black person. We
Mhm.
don't make a distinction. I mean, for someone like Barack Obama, for example, who's my age, to refer to himself as mixed race during his presidency was an absolute joke, because anybody over 50 understands that he's black and the product of an interracial relationship is a black child. And we've understood that. I mean, that we have the entire spectrum. I mean, you see pretty much every shade of black person on the screen right now. Okay. So we understand that. We've always taken this very inclusive approach to the members of our race, the members of our community, regardless of whether or not they are pure black or whatever you might want to call it.
What would
So
you say to? Oh, I'm sorry. Did
no,
I?
I'm just saying, we come from a perspective of being prepared to expect the racism really coming from the other side, whether the other side is white or Native American, it happens there too, or Asian or any other race.
So my question to you would be really quickly before I get Miss Patty Cakes and Mr. Williamson. What? Oh, sorry, I know I'm all down here. 1 second. I'll try to put myself back eventually. What my question to you is, what would you say about the? What was my question? Oh yes, with every tribe sticking to their own. Because in my view, I believe things are simpler when you stick to your own. I don't know. I like the variety in people. And if we are going to become a society of everyone mixing with everyone, eventually we're all just going to be the same. I enjoy the variety. I enjoy the variety of colors and hairs and eye shapes and lips, everything. I enjoy it. So
I
for me,
I
I'm a
understand
that
your
we stick
point.
with our own.
I understand your point. I lived in Spain from 84 to 88, and that was during my formative years. And now, if you go to Madrid, it's pretty much just like New York City. And it breaks my heart because I don't think that Americanization is an improvement, right, in many cultures, in many countries. I believe that people should maintain some kind of cultural homogeneity in their own country. I believe when I go to Mexico, it should be like Mexico. It shouldn't be like the States. When I go to Korea, it should be like Korea. It shouldn't, making it more Americanized is not necessarily an improvement, and the whole globalization process. But at the same time, I am an American, and this is the world's first large scale experiment in a heterogeneous society, and it's the most successful experiment in heterogeneous society, and that is what it is. I'm the product of the United States. I'm the product of a heterogeneous society. So whereas I do understand, I mean, we tend to give Asians a pass on their racism because it's so old, because their culture is so old, and they go, oh well, my grandparents, we're never going to change them because of their sense of filial piety, right? you
Right.
know I totally understand it, but living within the confines, living within this country, living within this culture, it is what we call racism. It is what we call racism. And so I understand both arguments. And also, I don't want you to all jump. I don't want people to just jump to a biological or a genetic reason why people would have what we call racist ideas or have developed certain ideas towards certain cultures,
Mm-hmm.
because what we call human intelligence is actually pattern recognition. And so as you get older and grow through life and you interface with people, right?
Right.
You're only going to interface with certain kinds of people so many times before you start to recognize the things about their particular culture that
Mm-hmm.
either rub you the right way or rub you the wrong way. Either they interface with your culture well, or they interface with your culture like sandpaper.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Lockett. I have to get.
Wisdom, right? Gathering your wisdom does not make you a bigot.
Thank you, Mr. Lockett. I do appreciate it. That's why I say the IQ test is skewed, because the IQ test is measuring your ability to learn and to notice patterns and to be able to figure out the last piece of the puzzle or what have you. But thank you so much, Mr. Lockett. Miss Patty Cakes, welcome. What do you have on? Oh, I skipped Mr. Williamson. Whoever wants to go first can go.
Mr.
Ladies first.
Williamson, you can go ahead, please.
All right. So, what was your full reason that you said?
Pardon?
I missed the full reason that you said possibilities.
I'm asking the panel. Here, I'll give you guys a list really quickly for those who are just tuning in. My list of the reasons why most races do not accept do not that they don't accept it, they don't prefer to marry black, would be the condemnation of it, the stigma, the cultural differences, and the biological and genetic changes that happens within the lineage, and the social scarlet letter that comes along with it.
I would choose the cultural differences. They don't want changes in their culture. Most culture want to grow. Most people want their particular culture to grow, their tradition to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really believe in this. It has anything to do with racism, because in America everything is skewed into racism or all this crap. But outside of America, there are other people living in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those people like to stick together. They like to grow, right? Maybe you can call them backward, but in a way, they're trying to stick together. They're trying to grow from there, because there are certain things that they see from other areas that they don't want in their culture. They don't
Mm-hmm.
want certain change in their culture. We can say religions, people, uh, like people that go into a certain religion, they don't want to marry out into another religion, whether they're same color or not. And then cultural aspect too. Let's say, for instance, there are people in Asian that don't will not allow their people to marry other Asian just because they're not from their area.
Right.
There are people from Nigeria. For instance, I'm from Nigeria, so there are people from Nigeria. We got so many culture in Nigeria and tribes. So there are certain people that will not even allow their sons or daughters to marry out
Right. So
of
you're saying
that culture.
it's a cultural difference.
So it has nothing to do with all this racism. In America, it's what we call all that crap.
Okay.
We
Thank
bring
you.
all this crap up. It has nothing to do with. Some people just prefer. I understand in America everything is, if you
Right.
don't allow my daughter or what, why? But in the same time, you don't want that white man to marry your black daughter, or that white girl to marry your son. But at the same time, oh, I don't want it, but I'm not gonna say it. Let him say something. Fuck, then he's racist. But at the same time, you don't want it to happen. That's just how life is. We cannot start pointing all these racism fingers. I
Thank
believe.
you, Mr. Williamson. Thank you so much, Mr. Williamson. Miss Patty Cakes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm making it short, guys. It's because I want to get everyone a chance to speak. So then after that, we can have a full panel discussion. This is why I want us to kind of make it short. No monologues, please, right now. We want to have a full discussion. Miss Patty Cakes, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I just want to touch on I don't none of the four, or maybe whatever is closest to comfortability. I
Comfortability.
think I think for a black family, or for my family, if there was a relative that came for Thanksgiving and they were white or Asian or whatever, I think my family wouldn't be comfortable, in the sense of we can't talk freely and say some of the things that we like to talk about and say. Everything has to be kind of held back, and we have to be on our P's and Q's and be mindful. And then somebody's going to slip up and say something. They'd be like, don't talk about that, or don't say that. So for me, that my opinion is a comfortability
So that would be like culture. I would put that in the category of
in culture.
culture.
Okay.
Yeah, being free to say certain things and so on. The Jamaicans are here. Welcome in. This oh my God, these guys are married guys. This is a married couple, interracial married couple listening to this stream. So I would love to hear your opinion on this. What do you have?
Hey guys. Hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to be here tonight.
Thank
Hope
you.
everyone's
Thank
having a good Sunday.
Welcome in. So
Okay.
did you guys face any problems? Like I see you have your wife here. I know you guys well, but I never asked you guys this question. I'm curious to know. Were there any problems on either side with the whole interracial marriage? Did you guys face the things I was talking about, rather the condemnation, stigma, cultural differences, and the fear of the grandparents with biological changes with the children? Did you guys face this or no?
Can I go first? Go ahead. All right. So, for me, like my side, I will say, growing up, my dad always said, like, don't bring home this type of race, basically. And it was kind of like, oh, I never really thought too much of it. But, as I got older, and then when I finally met my husband, it was like, hey, my dad met him and he's like, you know what? He's a good guy. I approve 100%. But I think for my family, maybe it's a little bit more, like you said, like cultural, because I think it's kind of like they don't really know what to say. As you can see, Jamaican American, but so it's kind of like, oh, like I don't really understand like their values or their culture kind of thing. But as time's gone on, we've been married 7 years now. I mean, my family loves him, absolutely loves him, adores him. So they're pretty happy with it now. So I mean, not that they weren't in the beginning, but it was a little bit like new for them. So they kind of didn't really know how to, I guess, broach the situation really. and
Well,
we
I
had
would love to
kids there.
hear. I would love to hear what they were saying when you weren't there. That's what I would love to hear.
No,
Because
you know what?
they would never say this to you. Now, I'm going to be honest. They would never say this to you. But the
Right.
way that people speak in honesty when the person, because of course they wouldn't want to offend you. You're in love and everything.
Right.
I wonder what they were saying when you weren't there.
See, and it's funny because I come from a very big family, so I've asked my siblings, and my one sister's completely like blunt, cutthroat. She'll tell you how it is, and I'm like, hey, so what do mom and dad, think of him? And my sister's like, no, actually, in the beginning, dad was kind of like, okay, he's really nice. Let's see what happens. Let's see where this goes. And he handled it really well. When he wanted to propose, he went and he asked my dad for permission, and it was kind of like, okay, my dad really, really, really valued that in him. And again, my sister was like, no, like they really love him, and it's it's a good thing.
I'm glad you had a great experience there. I really but I like I said, these kind of issues are real, even if
Right.
they do happen, and I do want us to speak on them. Mr. Kosher Clinician, welcome in. What do you think is the biggest problem with I guess you could say non-blacks marrying blacks? What do you think is the biggest problem or the biggest fear that families have when the two mix? Oh, Mr. Clinician. Oh, wait a second. You're muted. There you go. Okay. Now
Yeah, this is a very nuanced question. It's very nuanced, but when I listen to the qualifiers, the qualifiers were condemnation, stigma, and biology. That all sounds like ignorance to me and underlying racism. Now, let me say this. When people qualify people in America as black, they tend to look at people like me. They tend to think black meaning West African blacks. But there are East Africans that look just like you. Ethiopians have your phenotype similarly. And so when people say black, how do you measure black? You can't measure black because black is very nebulous. It's very diverse. So when we say black, we get fixated on West African blacks instead of seeing black as a spectrum. But the whole connotation is black. We should have never been seen as black when we came here. We should have been seen as Americans. But, when folks say black, well, how do you measure that? How can you measure black? Because watch this. The original humans were black. The original humans were people of color. What you see manifest in this show is a manifestation of an amalgamation of different genotypes. Adam and Eve, and they were living today, will look more like East Africans. They will have more of your phenotype. But when people say black, they think, once again, West African. So in my opinion, Ameera, it sounds like ignorance when they say they don't want their genes mixed or whatever. It's ignorance because there's no such thing as race. When I hear people say, well, we're from different races, there's no such thing as race. It's the human race, but there are different ethnic groups. So when people say race, it's no.
That's the point, though, Mr. Clinician. Right. I think that's the point, though. The reason why they don't want to mix is because they have a familial look, and they don't want to interrupt said look.
I understand that. I understand your point succinctly, but once again, to me, that's a predisposition of ignorance, and also it's a predisposition of, in my opinion, some racial overtones. I do understand that some of it is a preference. But I think, once again, when people look at black, they think my skin color. But when you look at the continent of Africa, especially Northeast Africa, you got Arabs that they call the sand M word. Osama bin Laden, they said, was a black Arabian. He was a black Arab. There are a lot of black Arabs that look similar. If you did a genetic test and look at their phenotype in the genetic pool, they would have African blood. But I think
African blood, Mr. Clinician. There's no such thing as African blood. There's no such thing as African blood. The thing that you're speaking about dark-skinned Arabs, which is
what I'm saying. When I say African blood, I'm talking about African. I'm talking about the bloodline. When I say, I'm not talking about.
Sir, you just said that race doesn't exist. You just said that race doesn't exist.
What I'm saying, Ameera, when I say African blood. Well, I'm talking about succinctly. I'm not talking. When we think African blood as it relates to the continent of Africa, I'm talking about their bloodline can be traced back to the continent of Africa. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, shouldn't that be everyone then? Because you said that everyone comes from Africa, so that would be everyone in the end of the day, right?
Yeah, but if I had an auto accident in Nigeria and I was rushed to the hospital, what kind of blood would I get?
Well, that's the thing that I'm trying to question
In
Mr.
African
Clinton. He said that race doesn't exist. He said there's only the human race, which I disagree with.
What,
This
what,
is
I'm,
going-
what I mean by what I'm saying, if you look at it from a theoretical percentage, race, there's no such thing as race. Race is a created construct. Do people practice racism? Yes. Do people understand and more or less associate different people with certain phenotypes and genotypes? Precisely. But from a theoretical position, there's no such thing as race. It's only the human race. All human beings can trace their ancestry back to Africa.
So how can someone tell the difference between a different person through their blood if race doesn't exist?
Because once again, race is a created construct. There's no
my question.
what there are ethnic groups, but there is no such thing as race. There are ethnicities, but race is a created construct. But go ahead.
So you're just changing the word, but it's still the same thing. It's a difference in humans, right? The difference in bloodlines, right? And that's what I'm talking about. This is the reason why a lot of people do not want to mix, because they don't want that bloodline to be changed. So that's not ignorance. That's not a part of ignorance when someone says that they don't want their bloodline to be changed.
Yeah, I think we're conflating the issue. I don't. Once again, if you look at what certain theorists call, once again, the word race was created. The original humans, once again, when you look at it from the book of Genesis or the Table of Nations, there was one race, which was the human race. But when people begin to spread out because of what some call sin, they begin to race to find their new tribal identity. But prior to that, all human beings were one. The original man was a man of color. So they weren't called race; they were just the human family. But once again, race the whole connotation behind race is a political construct. It was created for power, class, and subjugation. But there's no such thing as race. When you look at all human beings genetically, there's not much difference in human beings based on their genetic blood, what you call the likeness of humans. There's not much difference. There are some differences, but it's so minute you can't really separate species from species. Racism was based on separating human beings from species to species.
So you're speaking that the reason why people are so afraid is because of phenotypes then, because they don't want certain phenotypes to enter into their bloodlines? Is that what you're saying?
Right. That yes, I think it's more of a phenotypic issue. But once again, when you go back and scientists have proven this, Ameera, when you go back and trace all human beings, they all go back to a common ancestor back in Africa. So when they say, "Well, I hate I don't want to mix blood," well, your bloodline is all human beings come from Africa. The original man was a man of color.
So you can't. We're all Africans then. We're all Africans.
Say it again.
We're all Africans then, in a way.
If you look at it from topography, going back to the Pishon, the Gishon River, near the Tigris and the Euphrates River, near Iraq, Ethiopia, yes, all human beings can trace their bloodline back to a common ancestor in Africa. I didn't make it up. It's in the research. So when people say that, we don't want to be mixed. Well, we all are mixed. My DNA blood, I'm 7% European. Do I look white? No, I don't, but I am. I'm 7% white. But so do I say, well, I'm mixed? Well, we all are mixed. If every human being did a DNA test, they will either find some white, African, Indian, or whatever. They all will find some vestige of a different bloodline in their blood. But the common man was a man of color, in my opinion. Well, not my opinion, but based on science. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. That was a great exchange. Thank you so much, Mr. Clinician. Mr. Trigger Mike, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm trying to digest all that was said there.
It was quite a bit.
Yeah.
What did you get from it?
Well, really, I've done the reading in the same way Mr. Kosher Clinician has, and I understand exactly what he's trying to say. I'm a first generation American, parents are Nigerian, so I've read those books before, but in a sense, I was also thinking that most of the world doesn't have that education, and it definitely doesn't speak to the problems that we are experiencing now, and especially the topic moreover on this show. Whereas if you say phenotype to the average American, they're not going, especially in America, because of the way people view things here and their beliefs and the indoctrinations they have in religion and culture. So you see the most of that here, right? So like, let's say Houston, Texas, 191 or plus countries represented in one city. Everybody's going to see different colors, different people, all of that, and they don't want those cultures mixing. So they won't have that education that the kosher clinician has, or anybody that agrees with him has. They're going to have typical street knowledge, bias, prejudice, and everything else
Right,
that comes
right.
with living, the daily life in America.
Thank you. So, question to the panel, and this is an open panel. Whoever feels like they want to join in right now, everyone has gotten their intros in. So, what do you guys think is the biggest issue? Or, my question that I had for the whole panel was, if a black man goes with a white woman and he procreates with her, marries her, what have you, they separate. Is there still a stigma to him, like there would be for a woman who did the same, or a man who did the same? If he tries to go back to the white community, if you have mixed children, it's going to be very hard for you, if not impossible. Is the same if a black man does the same and goes back to the black community, or a black woman does the same and goes back to the black community with mixed children?
No, every black family has at least one mixed grandchild. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. Every black family, every black grandmother has at least one mixed grandchild.
Yeah,
So
the
the
African American community.
Uh,
The African American community is far more accepting.
Mandrell, there ain't no
that.
black community. There is no black community.
We're speaking in
Let's be
generalities.
real.
I know, but African
They're bringing
Americans,
them back too.
African Americans are far more accepting of the mixing of races than any other race that I personally have observed.
Always have.
I have to disagree with that because
no, you do. Hold on, you do have some people, some black people, African Americans who just flat out don't like it, and they have no qualms with letting you know. But by and large, as a whole, yes, African Americans are far more accepting of it than any other race that I've observed.
I want to hear the disagreement.
The most racism that I've ever experienced has been from black people not accepting me as black because I'm not as black as them. So I can't quite, maybe it's just my anecdotal experiences, but just literally just the other day, someone said that I have no room to speak because I'm not fully black. So I'm not black. So
black people hate other
that.
black people anyway.
Right.
I'm darker than you and they don't like me either.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
And they decided to use that as what they're going to come at you with.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It is what it is. I grew up with it. It doesn't bother me. I'm just saying him saying that the black race
colorism
accepting. I don't agree with. We're not.
All races their own. They hate their own. All races.
Colorism is our own internal thing, though, and colorism has always been there too. And colorism also exists in Africa as well, and I'm sure my two African brothers will agree with me. Right. So colorism is an intra-African American experience, right?
And I can tell you, like I said earlier, I've never had a woman I've never dated a woman of another race who's asked me why I'm out on a date with them. I've had black women ask me that. I've had black women suggest that I date women outside my race because I fit a stereotype of the Carlton Banks type, someone who's lame and unfun. That's what it is. When you're told grow up and be the best you can be the best and the brightest that we have to represent, then you grow up to be just that and more. And then come to find out black women don't like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's weird. But I mean, when you study it, you can actually find, number one, where that divide came from, why things are the way they are in the black community, but we're very self-destructive.
I want to ask.
I'm glad you're able to get over that.
I want to ask the panel too: is it racist for a person to say that they don't want their genetics to be changed in this way by marrying black or procreating with black? Is that racism?
Yes,
but it doesn't make a difference.
Right. And so what?
But it does, Mr. Panderson. I already asked you what the rest of them answer because I want to hear what they have to say about the racism. I know you already said it doesn't matter, but to me it matters. And I think to a lot of people it matters in the chat. A lot of people in the chat said it does matter. So I want to hear, is it racist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Depends on the context.
By definition, it's racist, right? But people have a right to be racist. I know that's shocking for me to say, but the fact is, we live in a free society and people can hold whatever stupid ideas they want to hold, and they can have whatever beliefs they want to have. They can embrace whatever religion they want to really, they can speak whatever language they want to speak. And so what?
Well, I think because if you look at the textbook definition of racism, I don't think that applies. Because like it depends on the context, right? People assume that someone doesn't want to mix races because of their hate of the other race. But what about, or ethnic group, whoever, but what about their love for their own? Like, what if it's like, I love my ethnic group so much, I wanted my children to be dark chocolate just like me. So guess what I married?
Well, yes, and I've known,
if so, it might be the love for themselves, not the hate for another group. And I'm not
Right.
saying
I don't believe it's racism. It could be a prejudice, but we, like you
absolutely.
said, we have
I
the
don't
right to
think it
be
applies,
prejudiced.
not for the textbook definition of racism. No.
I've known a few Native Americans that were literally one of like maybe 200 or 300 of their people left on Earth, right? So if they're protecting their race, it is racism, and they have a right to be racist.
I agree.
I don't know why. I don't know why everybody's you're hearing the word racist and everybody's running away and hiding from it. It's just a descriptive word.
And
so again, it really depends on the context. So
yes,
using real world examples that we have today, you have the Japanese. By and large, they are very homogenous people. They do not take well to mixing with outsiders, whether they be East Asians similar to them or definitely people that look like us. So you have ethnic Indians and Pakistanis. They're basically the same people, but because of their cultural difference, they have separated themselves. So you really have to take in the context when you are trying to flesh out why a certain group of people does not want to mix with another certain group of people. Now, when it comes to people that look like us, by and large, it's because they don't want their grandchildren to look like us or have to deal with negative connotations that are associated with looking like us.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that's specifically an American thing, because somebody from Nigeria, Ethiopia, Liberia, they go to the UK and somebody hears them speak, they're going to immediately know that they're not from America, and they don't have to necessarily worry about the stereotypes immediately. However,
I do want to ask a question about that, about the stereotypes and the stigma, because now, I mean, we have a pretty good panel. I want to ask you, how does it make you feel when I say these things to you about other races saying that they don't want to mix with your gene because it's so dominant, because it changes everything? How does that feel towards, I mean, because in my view, it just seems like, I understand when people say that, if a person just says that outright, it sounds so racist. But when I give you reasons or possible reasons why, how does that make you look at things? Do you think that it is bad, good? Does it hurt? Does it feel strange? I don't know. I'm just curious. That's a very personal question. I'm just curious.
Well, from
personally, I don't care. I'm black.
From my point of view,
my wife is first generation American. Both of her parents are from Liberia, who were repatriated slaves from America. So I'm black through and through. She's black through and through. Our children are black through and through. It really doesn't concern me because my duty to humanity is done.
Yeah. I think, from my experience growing up, first generation American, parents from Nigeria, I married a Black American woman. And my entire life, they said, Mike, you had to be real. I had to grow up and learn what they were trying to tell me because of the cultural differences. And the reason why, there's a big divide nobody really likes to talk about between Africans that are in America and Black people. But I lived on both sides, right? So I have African parents in the home that are sending me to school with Black American children. So I got to actually see what they were saying act itself out in real time. So it's like, the behaviors and everything that they're talking about, I didn't let it go to a racist level. I basically said, there's good in everybody. There's good in Black people. But I had to be true to what they were saying in terms of marriage. When it's time to get serious, those behaviors matter. So, that's not like Nigerian people saying anything against people that look at them. They were trying to train me on what to look for in a partner. Does this person value marriage? And, you can tell, like, are they trivializing childbirth? and they trivialize sex. We don't do that in our culture. So if you're going to marry an American woman, she better not have those behaviors. So as you grow older, you realize that, okay, it's not really hate for people. It's, hey, this is something that's bad. It's an epidemic here, right? We have a single mother epidemic. We have
Right,
all those things
but
going
I
on.
just wanna stay on this topic for now. I understand where you're going with that, but I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
stay on this topic because I did want to get the rest of the panel to respond to the question.
Mhm.
How does it make you feel when you hear that kind of thing, that your genes are so dominant that, you know,
I
other
understand.
people don't even want to mix because of that? Because I don't know. It just seems like something that is like you.
Yeah, I understand.
It's difficult because it's like you can't control that, of course, but it's like it's almost like, okay, you're gonna shun me away just because my genes are dominant, and I understand, but the kids are beautiful even if they're not looking like your grandparents. The kids are going to be beautiful no matter what. So what's the point? Like, why are you shunning this person for this? That's why I'm asking you, what
Well,
is your main idea from that? And does it
well,
hurt, or do you not care, or
Some
does it
kids
make you
are
want to
ugly.
be
I
with
don't
your
care.
own more, to say like,
well,
okay, fine, if that's the case, I'll make even more stronger community?
well,
What's
the thing is, from my perspective, I grew up in the American Southeast, you know, and so that should tell you a lot right there in the with context. So for me, when I hear that, it makes me feel, I'm thinking I'm unwanted. You know what I'm saying? So then, you go out again, you go out and do what you're supposed to do. Your own people don't want you. So where does it leave me? You know what I'm saying? So you have a lot of people who hear that, and that's what they believe. That's what they think. That's what they hear when you say that. And also, from my perspective, I'm very well traveled. You know what I mean? All over the world. So for me, I'm like, okay, if the two people are human and they love each other, what's the difference? Why do you care about any of the rest of it? I mean, if you have a different culture than I do, great. Teach it to me. Let me learn about your culture. That helps me grow as a person. I'll teach you about mine. You know what I mean? So, and if we do have a child, let's teach our child both cultures, both languages. Like I said, that child's going to be leaps and bounds over everyone else in school. When they get out and they're ready to go out into the world, they're going to be leaps and bounds over most people in America.
My last question to you guys is the social scarlet letter that I spoke about. When a white woman goes and procreates with a black man, she has mixed children. The likelihood of her going back. Sorry, there's somebody with feedback. Can I get you guys to
Not
mute?
me.
The likelihood of her going back and being with another white man is close to zero because of that stigma that he's going to have to walk around with this other white woman with mixed or black children, which looks bad publicly because you're going to get a lot of looks. You're going to get a lot of people saying, "Oh, look at this guy. He came behind so and so, and look at this, and now he's raising his kids," or something like that. You know how people are. People will talk no matter what. What do you guys think about that stigma, that condemnation that this goes on? And is it the same the other way? I don't think it is, because you guys said that the black community is more accepting of mixed children, which I do not agree with. I don't think they should be. Sorry. I don't think it should be. I think it should be a kind of more tribal. I believe it should be more tribal because I believe we're sticking with our own. So what is your view on that?
Are you referring to like if a white man married a white woman who
Who
had
has
a
all these
black baby?
had black children, right?
Okay. Out of all of them that I've ever met in those type of situations, the white guy treats the kid like its own. I've never seen him act weird. I don't know much about if it's happening in his community, but I will say that he will love and treat the child like his own.
Not so much about the man treating the children. I'm talking about how others will look at him and how he's going to have to face society. Even just walking in the store, you see that he's going to get looks. There's going to be people like, "Oh,
Oh,
look at
he defends it. He'll defend it.
I mean,
He'll
I think
defend
it'd be
But
better if
who
we
would
had
he
a
have to
white guy on
defend
the
it
panel.
from is the
Yeah.
issue.
Depends on the person, right? Yeah, a real person.
And
Yeah.
and
Um,
I go ahead.
My opinion on it is honestly from either race, black or white man. I hear a little feedback. Or black or white man. There's going to be uh I don't know how to put it. There's going to be a reservation about that. Whether it's a white man getting with a woman with a child that has black children or vice versa, because when he goes out with his children, his family, he wants people to see that this is my legacy, this is my bloodline. Even if it isn't, when you the image that the man see, I mean that the world sees could throw questions in there. That's why a lot of men don't want single mothers. I mean, single mothers with kids because of that very reason, because they're legacy minded.
And I can't answer this as a white guy, but what I can say as a man is that by the time a man has already decided to take on the responsibility of stepfatherhood, men really don't care about what comes after that. If they're going to stand in front and take that woman on and marry her, he's not going to be all apprehensive about the fact that the kid she had was black. He wouldn't have put a ring on her finger otherwise. And that goes for any race of man who decides to marry into another, ethnic group. So by the time you get into that family, you don't care about the dirty looks. You don't care about her being ostracized. You stand in front. That is your family. I think it would work that way no matter what type of or what ethnic group of man married into
I
another.
would say, I would also say that, like, I understand where Amir is coming from, but a lot of those times where sometimes you will get a look from somebody, let's say in a grocery store, sometimes those looks aren't always bad. Sometimes they stem from curiosity. Sometimes a lot of those people, like Devin said earlier, there's a lot of grandparents out there in the black race or whatever you would say that they have a mixed race or interracial child. Now, a lot of those people sometimes they're curious. It's out, but they fear the political backlash of, you know what I mean, how they'll be viewed or certain things. That's why they may not approach you. But a lot of those things, a lot of those times, those looks are like, oh man, I have an interracial child, and they'll want to approach you, but they're afraid of political backlash or just how it would unfold. You know what I mean? The conversation. Like I know that because, being married to my wife, I'm here from Jamaica and I've been here since I was 7. I won't put my age, but um we now have, mixed kids, and it's not by choice or whatever, but like we get a lot of looks down here, like in Florida, like you just we get a lot of looks. But like you said, I don't really care, I don't really care what people think. I've had people ask me, oh, they're so beautiful, they're great, they have nice curly hair, they're long, we have twins, and and the next question is, are they yours? And it's like
I'm always asked if I'm the
it's like,
nanny. Always, are you the nanny? And I'm like, they're mine.
That's racist.
like they're ours, bro. Like, are
Yeah,
they
right.
yours? And it's like, yeah, they're mine. I don't have any hair, whatever, but I
I
don't
have another question regarding the children as well, because you guys have biracial children. I've gone to school with biracial children, biracial kids. The most common issue that I've seen with them is not finding themselves in either side fully. Because the problem is, whites typically will call them black, and blacks will say, well, you're mixed or you're light skinned, so you're not really, you're there, but you're not really there, kind of thing. And I've seen that in school. So what I mean, the children having to go through that, this is why I say it's best to stay in our own tribes. But I do understand that love happens, just like we have with the Jamaicans here. Love happens. And I think it's a beautiful thing to have mixed children because they always come out so cute. But anyway, but still, like, the thing is, the problem with the identity issue, the identity problem that they're going to have. What do you think about that?
It's funny in Hawaii, the vast majority of children in grammar school are of mixed racial heritage. The majority of, I mean, it's very rare to find like a pure Haole or even a pure Japanese or Filipino child. Most of the children that are growing up in Hawaii have parents that are of 2 ethnicities. Whether black be one of them or not, that's a simple fact. You know, so it just depends. Like, it's kind of regional, you know, as far as the United States are concerned. And let's address the elephant in the room. There's a lot of mystique about the black man's sexual prowess and power, and so therefore there's a lot of fear and a lot of white men about women who have experienced being sexual with a black man. A lot of white women have told me that, you know, the first questions that white men ask them when they meet them in bars or whatever is, do you do drugs and have you been with a black guy? And that does happen. And so maybe it may be born of that insecurity, right? That someone would say, well, if there's evidence that my woman has been with a black man, that they may look at me and think, oh, well, she's ready to cuckold him or whatever, because she's remembering this guy that she was with before and now she's with him.
Oh my goodness. Am I not muted? Okay. Whoops. I'm not muted.
Just trying to get your likes up, you know, just trying to get your likes up.
You know, you did it. Thank you guys. Please like the video if you are here and you are as nervous and uncomfortable as I am. Guys,
I just want to, sorry,
no,
go ahead.
The thing is, okay. The thing is, people will say, if this woman has been with a black man, I will not be with her. There are men who will literally check out of the whole situation if they know that the woman has been with a black man. Why?
I believe that's racism. But go ahead.
It's a fear. It's an inadequacy type of deal.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, yeah, you're right, inadequacy. But going back to the children really quick, because we do have biracial kids, I think for us, we really are trying to raise our kids to know the best of both. Even though society may not say, oh, we're so accepting of you, maybe on the white side, or, you know, maybe on the black side, they're not so accepting. I think it's more just we're trying to give them the best of both worlds and say, hey, listen, there will be people you're going to come across that are not going to agree, but that's okay. That's their opinion. And we're not going to label and say, oh, it's racist or it's a prejudice. No, instead, we're just going to say, you know what, you can't change everybody's mind and you can't make everybody accept you. You know, you are who you are and you were made out of love. And, you know, if it wasn't for God and how this worked out, you guys wouldn't be here. So instead, we just try to give them the best, you know, information and knowledge and, you know, put our best foot forward and do it that way.
So with the children, what about now I've seen this as well on YouTube, hair texture differences where women are not, they don't know how to take care of a child that is mixed. They don't know how to take care of their hair. There's another issue with that where you see the mothers. Why are you guys making so many faces? What happened?
I'm laughing because
it's very
common.
I think the YouTube talking points are killing you, Ameera.
Okay. I thought we were being honest here. I thought we were just going to have an honest discussion amongst adults. That's what I thought.
I just have a question.
He struggled with that.
I signed up for this today. I already knew this was going to be this today. I've already signed up for it. Don't
I'm
worry.
just saying it's not a dose of reality. And even people who just say this stuff, I'll never date a white man. Let one come with $3 million in his pocket. Hey, sir, how you doing, sir? I'll never date a black man. Let LeBron walk up and be single. Hey,
I have a
we
question.
got dinner in the oven. Let's be real.
I have a question for the Jamaicans. To the wife. Did you actually like go to his family to ask about how to do their hair or what to use or anything?
It's funny you asked that question because his brother's wife, her brother, is also married to a white woman. So when our kids were smaller, I was like, hey, you know, what does so-and-so's wife use? Do you have any kind of, you know, suggestions or things? Because our kids, we have boy-girl twins, so they have two completely different hair textures. And it's funny, I did struggle in the beginning, and I will be completely honest. It took me a little bit. And then I'm like, okay, I've learned a lot. And now friends that I have that have biracial children, I've kind of said, hey, this is what, you know, I learned. And also from, you know, family who told me this is what you should use, try this. So I've kind of given my knowledge that way. But yes, to answer your question.
We've tried, well, she mainly, but I've introduced certain things. I've heard people say, oh, just use straight coconut oil. Just use coconut oil and whatnot. I'll be honest, we tried it.
Doesn't work for
It
our kids.
wasn't that
Mm-mm.
it wasn't that functional, and I don't like grease and messy. I don't like it. You know what I mean? So it didn't really work out.
The porosity of the hair. I've been watching YouTube videos for way too long. I tried to do something for my hair, and I saw a huge section of YouTube that was all about hair, and they were speaking about porosity and all of this and the differences in tech. I'm confused. I don't do anything to my hair. I wash it.
So can I say something real quick?
Cantu products are really good for biracial hair.
Okay.
Share it just in case.
I wanted to ask, so why do we have problem with people not marrying biracial? Like, and you see the problem that is coming out of it. I know the parents love each other, so they will love their kids. So why put your kids through that? I know you say you don't care what the world says about these kids, but the kids have to deal with these people until they grow up. Why put them through that? I understand you guys love each other. Why put kids through that?
Well, here's the thing.
You know how the world is. You know, I mean, that's kind of selfish, ain't it?
No.
I know you guys love each other.
Here's the thing. Kids are going to go through things anyway. This is not adding anything to the plate.
Oh, come on. If
it's a Black American kid and you're light skinned, people are going to say you're not Black enough. If you talk using the King's English, you're not Black enough.
Okay.
If you're dark skinned, if you're super dark skinned, you're too Black.
You're too Black. Jazz right there. Jazz, family value right there. Ask her how she grew up.
Really, bro?
From both sides. Ask her.
No, you're gonna go through things anyway.
Exactly.
Stop the madness, dude.
That's just what they're gonna use.
It's just an excuse. So what?
Exactly.
It taught me thick skin. It taught me not to need the approval of people. And I grew up in the Black community. My father is Black. My mother, her father adopted her when she married my grandmother, who is Black. I was surrounded by Black people, so it wasn't a big, huge issue. It was just when I left my hometown or went to a different city or something, and then they find out that I'm Black, and they're like, "Oh no, you're not Black." It was silly stuff like that, which didn't bother me. It just made me find other friends elsewhere and help me broaden my, idea of I don't have to only be friends with Black people.
I understand that.
It's not just about Black. People clown whatever they
Here's
clown.
my own thing, all right? I'm not
I used to do it for years, bro.
Here's my thing. I'm not against it. But if you know how the situation is, why get together and make kids knowing that you're putting them in this situation?
They're gonna be in a bad situation anyway. They're kids. They're vulnerable.
Come on now. You
They're
still
ignorant. They don't know anything.
Right.
I used to do this. I had a whole squad. We used to roast people for anything.
It doesn't matter what
we can come up with. We roast.
I'm just asking the questions.
We
seem to know what's going on in the world. We seem to know the problem in the world, and yet we keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting.
That's not going to fix anything. You're from Nigeria, yeah? Hang on a second. You're from Nigeria, yeah?
Yes,
correct?
Sir.
Okay,
yes, sir.
So if you were Nigerian and you grew up here, they be calling you African booty scratcher. They be calling you midnight Black. And they have. You're a kid, dude. They're gonna exactly. They're gonna clown you no matter what. Okay. No matter what. As a kid, they're gonna get clowned. So they're in the same position as you would be. Me, Ameera, white kids.
But
they're gonna joke on white kids, so it doesn't matter. So watch it.
Here's the thing, though.
Hey, somebody in the chat called you Flavor Flav already.
From Black people. I never hear any of those racist words from white people. So if you're saying that it's because you heard it, you said it maybe once or twice, but I only hear it from Black people. I don't hear it from white people.
Yeah, you're gonna hear.
So if you really want to find people that are really racist, I promise you, look in between our own community.
Not a problem.
There's racists everywhere.
Yeah, no one's denying that. I'm not going to give you pushback on that at all.
Why do I keep hearing racism?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree with you, Ameera. No,
I'm sorry. I just want to get Mr. Kevin to join in. I didn't mean to cut you off, but right after Mr. American, can I get Mr. Kevin to join in? Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. So I'm gonna agree with you with that last point, Williamson. Within the Black community, I'm not gonna lie, and family values as well. She also made a great point that I agree with. Like, the backlash of dating a white woman, or even since I've been here from Jamaica since I was 7 years old. You're talking about in like the late '80s. The the most racism I've experienced was from Black people. Okay, and people may call. I've been called sellout. I've been called a lot of different things. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Because when I've decided to veer away and step out and be culturally diverse, it made me a hell of a lot better person. And the people that were amongst me, my friends that were Black, that never used to pick on, mess with me, whatever, I've introduced them to things that I've liked doing and I started doing. I mean, you're talking about from longboarding. You don't find a lot of Black people longboarding. Mountain biking. I go mountain biking. Yes, I live in Florida, but we don't have, we have synthetic mountain, whatever. But mountain biking, everyone that I've introduced to stuff like that, they love it. I used to race motorcycles. I used to race remote control cars on the weekends. You don't find a lot of Black people doing that. You know what I'm saying? And whenever I introduce my friend, they're always like, oh, snap. A good friend of ours that is back in New York now, God bless him. He went through a stroke and he's now, really bad shape, but he was from New York, the concrete jungle, hardcore, just straight, you know what I mean? Do whatever. And he moved here. He seen me mountain biking. He went out and bought, spent $600-800 on a mountain bike. And I took him out to the trails, and it blew his mind. He was like, "Yo, this is dope." Whatever.
What he said was, "Only white people do this.
Yeah, only white people.
Only white people do this stuff." And it's like,
I'm like,
it's so sad that that's what you hear.
It's so sad. I'm like, yo, there's so much to do.
And I know there's so many different things that are labeled as this is a Black activity, this is a white activity, and
exactly. I think people should get away from that and be a little bit more diverse in the things. You would find so much love and you know what I mean, things and so many different things, but you just got to try it and stop deeming it like a cultural thing, like, oh, the only white people do it. I mean, for my 30th birthday, I went skydiving, and when they say sky's the limit, it really is the limit. Like, believe me, I felt like I was flying, and I got down to the ground, and not one of those white people judged me. Nobody.
Thank you, Mr. Tamari. Thank you. I want to get our new guest to chime in.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Please.
Hi, how's it going? Can you guys hear me? Okay, so I have two biracial children. My two youngest sons, who are 4 and one was going to be 12 soon. They're Black, white, and Mexican. And just interacting with them and knowing them, I think it really depends on the environment and where you have your kids at, that you might experience something like that. I'm in Southern California. I'm in the liberal haven, like everybody, everybody's accepting and everything up here or down here, and they don't have any issues. If anything, they're more of the kind of the cool kids because, they're different. They have, cool hair, they have different hair, and, they're very accepting of everybody. So I think really when you're talking about mixed, biracial kids and, what they experience, that really all depends on where they're experiencing it. If they're in a fully Black neighborhood down in New Orleans, yeah. I mean,
but you have to admit that is a common experience, Mr. Kevin, because even
but nowadays it's common. It's not like it was.
No. I'm saying that the identity issues are very common because even Miss Family Values here next to me, she's saying the same thing.
Well, then I would say then also it depends on, the parents and their structure of where they come from. I mean, I have a really close-knit family, and so, my sons know that they're Black, but they understand that they have another side. They understand that there's kind of two sides.
You're saying you pretty much made them accept their Black identity more than anything, rather
no. I wouldn't say more than anything. The thing is that their mother side, they don't have a culture that they latch on to, because they are Mexican and white, but they're more white. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't speak Spanish. They don't speak that language. So they're more kind of white. And with that sense, white people's culture is American culture.
The other side.
White people's culture is American culture in this sense. And me and my family are so deep. I mean, my dad's from Texas. We got a big family, so the Blackness, as you would say, is deep. It runs kind of deep. but still, I make it a factor. I make it a point to show them, you are both of these things. You're not just black.
Can I get family values, Mandrell or David Lockett or the Jamaicans to respond to that? Because I'm just curious, what do you guys think about what he said?
I think what he said was par for the course is what I was trying. The kind of the point I was trying to get to is that, number one, whatever environment you grow up in, that's more likely the culture you're going to latch on to. You know what I mean? So if you grew up around more of his white family, he's going to gravitate more towards that, or the Latin side of his culture. He's going to gravitate. But if he grows up around more black people, that's the culture the kid's going to latch on to. It's what he's around most of the time. It's as simple as,
experiences make everything.
Right. You adapt to your surroundings. Mm-hmm. And as children, as malleable as they are, that's probably what they're going to grow up leaning more towards. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And
I'll add real quick that my boys are with me more so. So like you said, that depending on where they're at on each side, they're more in depth with. They see my family every weekend. They're with me most of the time in the week. So that culture is going to be kind of pushed on them a lot more obviously than their mothers.
I agree that, where what your culture is, what you're around the most, that's what you're going to inherit the most. But I also believe that it has a lot to do with who your father is. Your father is usually who you get your identity from. That's who your last name is from. So I see it normal for children to gravitate to whatever it is that their father's culture is. Now, my mother did teach me Korean food and things like that, but I wasn't really immersed in it. So I gravitated more towards the Black community.
And like you said, your one side was more immersed within their culture. Like I said, my ex, she wasn't immersed in the Mexican culture. Now I could see if his mom was more more in their culture, taking him down to Mexico. I take him back home from where I'm from to Detroit, so he can, he can see and touch and feel and understand where daddy comes from and where my family comes from. So, right. So that's a huge factor. And this is why I say is that the experiences and what molds your family, that's what's gonna, that's what's gonna push you forward and that's gonna show you, create your lens.
Right, exactly. My mother was raised by a Black man. So even though she's Korean, she embraced Black culture as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I want to say one thing, and then my oldest son, he's fully Mexican. Right? He's biologically not mine, but he's fully Mexican. So they got an older brother that's in that, but he's been with me since he was 2 months. You see, so there's also that dynamic that completely, is another kind of fork in the, so that's why, I mean, my kids are probably a lot different than most people's, their situation, they're with me more so than their mother. And you know what I'm saying? But I sit back from I sit back and my brother, his wife is white. He's got 2 kids that are mixed too, so I see this, see somewhat of the same thing in that also.
Right. And as your kids go to school, they're going to be called names just like every single other kid, kid in that school. Like growing up, the kids used to call, the Black used to say, "You're not black, you're orange." Like,
don't talk about Donald Trump race. Don't talk about my Donald Trump race, okay?
You know what I'm saying?
My son,
my dad is orange.
My son got called
orange. I'm like, what?
My son got called the N-word. Was it not? I don't know. Maybe a couple months ago or something. He got called the N-word.
The white kids used to call
me. A little white kid. Yep, a little white kid.
White kids used to call me that in school. Like that? But I tell you what, the first time I ever been called that, I was in 2nd grade, and a grown man called me that.
Wow.
That's
grown man. I was waiting on my ride home from school. At the school, a grown man looking in the 2nd grade.
He called you.
Called me the N-word.
Mr. Williamson.
And spit on me.
Here.
And spit on me after that.
Donald Trump.
I mean, it was crazy.
Yes, ma'am.
I grew up in Alabama, so
Mr. Williamson.
There's that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm from New Orleans, actually. I'm Creole, and my children's mothers are Spanish, Portuguese, and Cambodian, respectively. Now, my youngest son,
I think
right?
Miss Patty
He's got a big fro, and he's actually teaching himself Japanese. And we're talking about the children that are growing up in today's world, where all cultures touch each other on the web all the time. And my son is literally teaching himself the Japanese language, not only writing in all three kanji, but also speaking. I mean, I listened to him outside. He's learning from the subtitles, watching movies and anime and everything. So, the children are going to grab whatever culture they feel comfortable with,
Thank you, Mr.
regardless of what their ethnic makeup is.
I'm so sorry. Miss Patty Cakes was speaking when you had spoken. I'm so sorry about that. It was I'm sure you didn't hear her. Miss Patty Cakes, you had a question for Mr. Williamson?
Yeah, I have a question. So for when you were talking about when you were asking them a question about why would they do it, my question to you is, what is a black man supposed to do if he doesn't find a black woman? Is he only supposed to mate with a black woman, or is he supposed to die alone and never date any race? Like, I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from when you were talking to them. I just wanted to know.
All right. First of all, I did not say they could not marry out. I never said that. I'm just saying we know what it's like for kids that are mixed growing up.
I have to say it's not that bad. I think you're putting a little bit too much.
I mean, I understand that for the kids, but
sorry.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay. So if you already know the stigma and what the kids are going through, are gonna go through, okay, why do it just for saying I don't care what other people think? I'm going to love them because they are my kids. Why put them through that?
Didn't you just
now hold on now. Hold on now. Because let's also see a trend that is happening with people, going outside looking for wives or husband and stuff like that. Now, sometimes it's something that happened within their community, or sometimes it's they feel this need to be anti cultural stuff, right? Like my brother said from the Jamaican. Hold on now. The Jamaican guy said, right? He received a lot of blowback from the black community. So that might have pushed him towards the white community, because that's why he find a little bit acceptance, since his own people that look like him were treating him bad. So that could be a part of the reason why, he find his comfort there. So that could be a part of the reason.
The whole panel is stressed. What is going on?
Is he not allowed to have a lineage though?
Did I say anything
is
about
it wrong
that?
for him to have whatever lineage that he wants? I'm just trying to understand.
Okay. Now, are you telling me he looked for a black woman and he didn't find one?
That happens.
Listen,
come on now. Did he look for a black woman and didn't find one?
He looked for a woman.
He
looks for a wife.
There you go.
But, okay.
But don't say, do I want him to stay, single and unmarried and all that stuff, because that was the only option to marry a white woman. Come on now. You're reasonable now.
Listen. When I
Okay.
Go
ahead.
It's borderline ignorant. I don't want to insult anyone. That's not what I'm here for. Okay, but what I'm saying, okay, like everyone said, I was looking for a woman. All right, my wife wasn't the typical woman that I would chase after when I was a lot younger. Okay, growing up as a young person, black, you're in America, you have this kind of stereotype, that's amongst you. And amongst our culture, majority of people will say, okay, you like, what type of woman you like? Big breasts, ass fat, da 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 da, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? That's the stereotype, black woman. Now, I found my wife. My wife was 5'9", 5'8", and she was like 119 pounds, bro. Okay? She's
Why are you
not
telling everybody?
I'm sorry. She wasn't the typical person that I would chase after. But we sat on the beach the first night, we spoke, and we spoke for like 4 hours on the beach, and she told me her whole life story. And I said, yo, this girl is different. She's just, you know what I mean? Like she wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, look at, I was like, yo, this girl is different. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give her a chance. This is not the typical girl. The ex-girlfriend I had before this, she was black. She was a fitness model. She had implants and she was curvy. Everywhere we went, it was like looks. I hated it. Too much attention. Okay, what I'm saying? But I mean, going back to even when I was like, yes, there was a lot of pushback from the black race, I mean, like black Americans, I would say, because when I came here from Jamaica, I did not speak like this. I came here and I had the thick, yo, wagwan, yo, pitney accent, you know what I mean, accent and whatever. And yeah, even the I would get questions from white people, like white kids or whatever. Why do you speak like that? And where do you from? And I would tell them, you know what I'm saying, I'm Jamaican, whatever. But the black people would be like, dog, why you talk like that? Cuz what it is? Cuz why you talk like that, man? Hey, and okay, and I was like, all right. So when I decided to, I grew up older, and I hung around different people. I become more diverse, you know. I became more diverse, and I don't know. I picked up just this. This is who I felt. I feel comfortable being me. This is how I speak. You know what I mean? I've spoke on the phone with people and have known me on the phone for a long time. And when they finally meet me, oh man, I thought you were white. You know what I mean? I can put it on. It's really not a big deal. But I found that if I didn't speak this way, it'd be like, cuz, why you faking, dog? Cuz, why you talk white? Cuz, why you act like that? Cuz, why you act? And I'm like, I hate that. I hate that. I cannot stand that. You know what I'm saying?
I've gotten the same thing.
I have to be somebody else.
Like
And
you're
I'm
trying
like,
to be
nah,
something.
man.
Yeah, trying to be
It's like,
something you're not.
it's like if I come around, I have to be like, be somebody else. I can't be like, dude, what's going on, man? I'm tired of that. I'm tired of being fake, man. I'm not
Listen,
like that.
but even aside from him, like me being like, like not his normal type, I had never dated a black guy before him. And I tell you, after that the first night that we met, I went home and I told my white father, was like, by the way, just so you know, I met the man I'm gonna marry.
So is it true that once you go black, you never go back?
Hey,
Really,
it's
Ameera?
true.
Ameera, shut the
Ameera,
TV
shame
off.
on you. Shame on you.
Ameera had left the building. This is Heather. Hi, guys. Hello.
Really, Ameera?
But it's true.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to say I was born when I was my father was a lawyer, and he went to Harvard Law. And when I was born into a very affluent family. My mom went to Boston University. Most of my uncles and aunts, they went to Michigan or Michigan State. My brother went to Boston University, so I grew up in that. And then when I was in like about 5th grade, my parents got divorced, and I moved over off 8 Mile. Culture shock, But when I moved, I remember constantly hearing, oh, you sound like a white boy. You sound like a white boy, So, and I think I felt a lot more. I got a lot more. I don't want to say pushback, but I got a lot more criticism for how I carried myself in 5th grade, 6th grade from the black community than the white community when I was growing up. I could think of maybe like 1 or 2 instances when I was growing up, but when middle school, it was about middle school. When I moved over there, it was constant. It was constant where they forced me to somewhat change myself or integrate myself to a certain extent to do and partake with the activities they were partaking in. I mean, when you're a kid, you just want to fit in. So I would, I agree with my man, like he said, I've dealt with that, and it's a different kind of beast. That's not something a lot of Black people kind of have to deal with. There is a little small sector of us that have had to deal with it, and I got through it. It wasn't that big it wasn't the craziest thing in the world, but it is, something that happens, predominantly a good amount, for those kids that grew up in affluent areas, and then they get pushed over to this area, and
Is Chaotic Truth here? Chaotic Truth, if you
oh, that's my guy.
feel free to come in. Come in.
Yo,
Wait,
that's my guy.
It might be full, actually. I think the studio is.
I think it's just too much TV thinking. Just like they talk about, like, are you going to be accepted into the Black community? Like, it's this big old gate, and there's 5 armored guards in there, and you got to swipe a card. Excuse me, how Black are you, sir? And then there's supposedly this white community on the other side of town. You go there, and there's people riding on horse. This is not what this is. Let's be real.
Yeah, right.
America.
No. It's not that extreme, but it is. It's not that extreme, but
most of it is not even a community. White people grease white people daily. Black people grease people daily.
See, you got to stop doing this, man.
No,
we talked about this.
Like at the Apollo, man.
No, it's not. Scam has to stop telling the truth. See, he had to stop telling the truth. I told you, you're gonna get kicked out. You're gonna get kicked out of the community now, whatever community that is.
Excuse me.
What were you getting at? What were you getting at?
If he wants to come in,
there is
a space open now for Chaotic Truth if he wants to join as well. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Up there.
No, I'm saying it's this fictional thing where, let's say I go and get get a Becky or get Maria Sanchez.
Mm-hmm.
There's this fictional thing. Oh my God, what are the kids gonna do? They got to pick a side.
Yeah. I agree. It's not. It's not.
It's like, no, they don't have to pick a side.
This is true. Yeah, this is
true. You go and you live.
I think it is exaggerated a little bit.
Side's gonna be picked for you.
People like you and people don't. That's just what it is. And they'll use any excuse if they don't like you.
Go ahead, fam.
I was 14 years old and wore a size 14 shoe. There's gonna be some jokes. Cool.
All right, Sam, let me say something real quick. What Patty and Williamson were just talking about, I just wanted to say that I believe that it's very problematic to base what your future is going to be like on what other people think. That's not freedom. That's bondage. You can't live like that, because you won't be doing a lot of things based on what people think. Somebody's going to have something to say about everything you do. So I don't think you should base your life and decisions on how other people feel.
Your children don't have a choice.
That part.
You can't be Black if you're worried about what other
your children don't have a choice.
Your children don't have a choice either way if you marry Black or white. They don't have a choice. What if they grow up and say, I wish I was biracial? They don't have a choice.
I think he's leaning more to the point that there are going to be these instances where the kids are going to school and you're not going to be there, and then they're going to I still don't agree with you. I still don't agree that kind of stuff happens.
Minority.
And even if it does, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully, you are a strong enough parent to be able to, give those values to your kids to where you can push that off your shoulder.
Complaining about it. I don't want to hear complaints about it.
Williams.
You're the one that said that. But there's tons of so you're saying that you should basically sequester, keep down the feelings that you have. If you find somebody that is a different race from you, you need to push those feelings aside, because if you do have kids, these kids are going to face a certain amount of racism, a certain amount of prejudice that you don't think a child should take.
This was based on today's discussion. Okay, this is based on this today's discussion. Why it's really not an idea to marry outside of your culture or race. This is based on today's discussion. This has nothing for me. I have no quarrel about who you marry, who you don't marry.
Oh, of course not. It's just a discussion. Yeah, I get you.
So here's my thing. We asking questions, and these are probably the reason why families like their own children to marry who they look like, because they want to keep away from stuff like this. Okay.
Can I
That
say
makes
real?
sense,
Okay,
bro.
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That don't make no sense, bro.
All I
Does
would
that
say
make any
is
sense to you,
all
bro?
I would
But
say is right
No.
now, the black community is struggling just to even make families. So to
okay.
put that extra cherry on top, I think is asking too much. Let's take a
Okay,
step
so
by step,
what?
and I would
Okay,
say
if
let's
that's the
just make
case,
families.
why are black community complaining about other people not wanting to marry them from outside of black community?
Who is? Oh, you saying black women are complaining about that, or black
Sure,
men, or I don't know.
black men, black community.
We're complaining about other races coming in into marrying us. Is that what you're saying?
Not coming in because we saying it's racist for other races, saying okay, we prefer our own
I don't
race.
think black men have that problem. I mean, all my kids are all mixed, and my brothers are, and like almost my best friend actually, Tevin, he's got 2 kids. They're both mixed.
And
See,
you doing
that's
well. You doing well, right? You doing well to yourself, right?
I do okay.
Okay, thank you.
What is it?
And that's why the black,
What is it?
the white. Hold on now. The black community, the women are complaining that all the good men are marrying out.
Because they tell us to. They don't want the good men. Black
Yeah.
women
When
don't
we
want
said
good
that,
black
why,
men.
Having a little backbone, bro. Having a
That
little
segment you're
backbone.
why were
talking
you
about,
listening?
yeah, no.
Having a
That
little
that
backbone.
segment that you're talking about is a small segment, but they're just the loudest. That's that.
Yeah, right. Here's the thing.
Yeah, why were you listening?
Here's the thing. Black women don't really want good black men. They don't care. They don't. They see good black men as people who are boring, not fun, corny,
Oh
things
my
I
like
think it's
that.
the opposite. I think they do have sex with the ones that are very, very attractive, very fast paced, very not.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it's
just
the
what I
opposite.
said. Good. I
Yeah.
said good black men.
No,
The ones
yeah.
the
What
guys
is
who
a
got their
good
stuff
black man?
together, who are serious, marriage minded. That whole thing. They see those guys as the Carlton Banks type. You know what I'm talking about. You see what I'm
I
saying?
know. I
You can't
understand.
deny it, dude.
But
I hear the
Banks
way
is married.
just the way you talk. Bruh, come on. You know you've heard that before. You've been
Quick
told that
question,
by a black woman.
I would say that's still
guys.
small.
Because
another
I
small
have
segment.
too. No.
Guys, let me in for a second. Quick questions to the panel. We have Mr. Chaotic Truth. He's been waiting patiently.
My
I don't
man.
have Truth on the panel.
Please bring him up.
Somebody step down. I will bring you back in a second. I will bring you back, but I need someone to volunteer to step down so Mr. Chaotic Truth can be chaotic.
Okay, since no one's speaking.
If no one else will, I will.
Yeah. Bring my boy up.
Mr. Scam said he was the first one to say he'll step down. Mr. Scam, you know I always bring you back. So give me 1 minute.
It's
Gonna
too
let
much
him in.
dust. I gotta go to the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. Thank you so much for
Bring-
volunteering. I'll bring you back.
Bring up
All
my
right,
boy.
guys, let's welcome Mr. Chaotic Truth in the building. He is not going to be on camera because he said he is, yeah. Let's just say that.
Hey, shout out my mans, yo. Shout out
What's-
my mans.
Truth. What's up?
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing, man?
Nice to meet
Hey.
you here, Chaotic.
I
What's
rock
going
with
on,
you,
brother?
man. Nice to meet you. I rock
Thank
with
you,
you.
thank you very much. I was trying to get on. I've been listening on and off, but I have to give a salute or a salutation to the panel first of all, but in particularly is it Jamaican Z?
Jamaicans.
Okay, yeah, sir. That snippet that I just heard, you said you came from Jamaica with a heavy patois accent.
Yes,
Sir, I did not know that until you said that, and I am telling you, sir.
Yeah.
I used to tell this to my students when I was a teacher.
Yeah.
I tell it to the Negroes that I encounter every day.
Yeah.
The Yoruba language, the Igbo language, the Lingala language, the Gaelic language. These languages did not win. English won. And therefore, it is your duty as a person in the Western Hemisphere to speak the Queen's English, sir.
Yes,
and
sir.
you are absolutely right.
Yes, sir.
Whether it's sounding like a white person or not, I would rather speak like the Queen of England
Yes,
than
sir.
to speak like, yo, what's up, my nigga? Because that's not the language of business. It's idiotic. Now, if you want to speak that gutter language, do it around your friends.
Right. Yep.
for you
How to
guys. But don't do it in public. See, the idea is that English, and I'm sorry for tucking your guys' heads off, but the idea is that you speak the language of business, and that is English.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Now, if anybody's out there that's younger and listening to this, please listen to what this man is saying. Speaking the Queen's English, or quote unquote speaking white, will get you places that that you cannot get speaking the gutter languages or the gutter accents. So even if you are in the South, and no offense to my people in the South, you ever notice in the South, like in Alabama and Tennessee, that even if you watch the news, for some reason they have northern speaking people for some reason, because even they know in the South that that's not an attractive tonnage and language. No offense, guys from the South. So yes,
Growl.
Southern
yeah,
growl.
yeah,
Right.
It doesn't sound attractive for some reason.
Like I said, chaotic. I grew up in Alabama, and you're absolutely right. From childhood to now adulthood.
Was it Montgomery?
They do not. Yes, Montgomery, Alabama. And they do not have people who talk with a Southern drawl on the news.
No.
Or anything to do with something serious or business. They do not. They recruit people from out of the state.
Yep.
He's absolutely right.
Yep.
Nor telemarketing.
Yeah. So yeah, and to my man Kevin, it's nice to meet you too, sir. You speak. I mean, it's your English is impeccable, sir. And I am so glad that you overcame any criticism growing up as a kid, because that is the superior language, and it just is. Now, until one of the other cultures wins and controls the planet, then start talking like that. But until then, you speak the Queen's language. I even sound gutter sometimes when I'm speaking, especially when I have people from the UK calling into the show. But yeah, guys. Any questions or concerns about what I said? Go ahead.
But chaotic, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna sign off. How you doing, brother?
I'm awesome, sir.
No doubt, no doubt. You know, some would juxtapose that there's a difference between dialect and actually the Queen's English. One would argue that no one actually speaks the Queen's language.
And that's a damn shame.
And I do agree with you, chaotic. I do agree with you that we need to code switch and know when to speak different tonalities. But when it comes down to dialect, when it comes down to dialect and when it comes down to the actual Queen's language, no one speaks British or the actual Queen's language. When you think about Spaniards, Castilian Spanish is the purest form of Spanish. Even the Spanish don't speak it. Let me ask you a question. When you think about what's the word? I can't think of it. When you think about the broken English of the West Africans, I think it's called the pidgin language.
Pidgin English. I can't.
Right. What would be your argument to those that say that it's some call it Ebonics and some they think it's disparaging to say so? But what would you say, chaotic, to those that says that when you hear the mixed variation, it's just a byproduct of Pidgin English? You be going to the store as a byproduct of the West African dialect, no different than maybe it's like the Jamaicans or whatever. What's your take on that?
Listen, my take on it is this, man, and no offense to anyone who's from the islands or Africa, but Pidgin, Patois, any other, you said Castilian Spanish, which is the proper Spanish, but now we have the different dialects, like Mexico, Puerto Rico, etc. Let's be completely honest. Castilian Spanish sounds pure and beautiful. Let's be completely honest. Any other dialect, in my opinion, guys, this is just my opinion. I know you guys are mad at me in the bushes. Oh, man, why are you talking about us? Well, listen.
Castellano sounds so fruity, so sweet, so...
Pidgin, Patois, or any other, it's just a bastardized language. Let's be completely honest, man. Let's cut the cap. Let's cut the cap. So it's just like Ebonics. It's broken English. It should only be taught. It should only be communicated amongst your friends in private. But when you're in public, you should try to speak the way that the Queen of England speaks. Could you pass the cereal or whatever? I don't know how they talk. Whatever. I try my best. Even I can't even speak that way. Yeah. It's all bastardized, culture clinician.
I understand.
But the problem is, like, when I'm in England, and I have this discussion, they tell me, no, sir, we speak English, you speak American. They make no qualms with telling me that there's a difference in them speaking English and us speaking American.
Well,
No, you're an American. You speak American. We don't know what that is. It's a weird accent. They tell me all the time. That's a weird accent. You speak it very well, though. You're well spoken.
I think if we can at least get to a point where if we at least can get to a point where Ebonics isn't a thing and we're still talking, just regular good grammar. Yeah. I mean, just at least that, because the speaking is an issue.
Kevin, I do understand, guys. I do understand, but I didn't get a chance to ask Mr. Chaotic the topic of the night. So let's just get that off, and then
okay, go ahead.
Of course. Down after what he says. So
Amir, before you ask me, can I say something? Kevin, you look about 24, 25.
No, I'm 34.
You are
34.
Okay. The show, sir.
Guys, could you believe this? When I was teaching, I'm sorry. When I was,
can you hear me? Do you not hear me? Do you not hear me? You are not the host of the show, sir. I know. Give me a second. I want to ask you the question of the night, and I want you to answer it. Then you can go off on your tangent if you like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask you, what do you think is the most problematic thing with other races dating Black people?
Well, I mean, Ameera, do you want me to be chaotic, or do you want me to say something that everybody just is gonna like?
Be chaotic.
You have been here. Do it.
That thing sings.
It's a thing of money. It's a thing of resources. If the Black man controls the planet, if the Black man controls the resources, the imports and exports, if the Black man built institutions all across the globe and colonized the planet, then yes, we would have the desirable genes, or the desirable, we will be the desired male. Obviously, the white man is the most desired, and it's because of what his ancestors they've achieved. They conquered the planet, so they have all the resources. They generally make more money than most groups of people or most groups of men. So any man in are you saying no, Ameera, to me?
No, they don't. Not now. No.
Okay, so Ameera, are you going to let me finish, or are you gonna?
You asked me a question.
Okay, I did. I asked you a question. I'm sorry. I saw you shaking your head, and no, let's be honest. Black men in America do not make more money than white men do. So what I'm saying is that obviously, if I'm a man, I could be a purple man, and truth be told, yeah, I would love to see my children be purple, but let's be honest, if there was a group of men on the planet that were blue, and that they generally didn't make enough, or they didn't produce enough, no, I wouldn't want my daughter to bring that blue man to the house. Yeah, it's not a matter of color, it's just a matter of resources, and I think that's how most men are. So it's just like what Hulk Hogan said. He said, my daughter can date a Black man if the nigger is 9 foot tall and he makes $10 million a year. Yeah, that's what Hulk Hogan literally said. And I can understand him, because I would have said the same thing too. Yes.
No, you wouldn't have. Not $10 million and
I would say
tall.
it's a difference between class. I know Chaotic said resources, but that's another way to say it's a class issue. Yeah, it's not a race issue. And I think this is one of the biggest problems that Black people have as a community, is everything has to be attached to race. And this is just another thing where in reality, class is the problem. Because I mean, how many times you see white people dealing with the same problems you got? And even language.
Yeah.
Even language. Them hillbillies down south.
The options that I had offered to Mr. Chaotic, the options that I had offered was here. Let me pull it up 1 second, really quickly, guys. Were the condemnation of dating Black, the stigma of dating Black, the cultural differences of the same, biological and genetic changes in the lineage, basically meaning that the grandchildren will no longer look like the grandparents, which is a big fear of a lot of people, that they cannot see themselves in their children anymore. Because
other groups of people.
And then the last one was the social scarlet letter.
Yeah. Okay, Ameera. So and thank you guys for allowing me to speak. I know. Never mind. Let me not say that. But nevertheless, the problem with that is that other groups of people have racial pride, whereas blacks really don't. Blacks, we're just accepting, oh, we just love everybody and we are the world, while other groups of people, to me, from what I've seen, they literally have it in them to want to continue on their genetics for some reason, whereas blacks don't mind having mixed children and men, dark men like myself. I mean, of course, I'm not like this, but a lot of dark men, no offense to anybody, they don't mind not seeing themselves in their children, but other men are not like that. That's why, for example, you never hear white people say, oh, this mixed kid is white. They don't view it like that. Black people will see a mixed kid and say, oh, he's black. He's black. And I'm like, well, he's not really black. He's mixed. But, our race is just different. And I feel as though while we are accepting, majority of the times, other people are not like that. Guys, have I offended anybody on the panel or in the chat? Please let me know, and I apologize.
No,
I get chaotic. I can say something that'll make you feel good, and I can say, I could, lie to you, but that's just my truth. Go ahead, Ameera. You got the floor.
I want to thank you for that. I somewhat agree with what you're saying, honey. So I somewhat agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, like I said, I do think it's more of a biological thing that they are worried about not seeing themselves in their grandchildren. Exactly. This is the biggest reasons that I've seen, and also the cultural differences, like I said. But
cultural differences,
right? The cultural differences.
What are cultural differences in America? We're all American.
Well, that's how I see it. I see it like that. But from what I've heard, there are differences that people don't like.
See, I never thought about it like that. I think all Americans, for some reason, well, not all, but to me, most Americans are pretty much the same.
That's the way I see it too. But people have come to correct me and tell me, no, you don't know. There's lots of differences between white people and black people in America. And I'm like,
that's just an excuse. That's just an excuse they use, Ameera. That's all nonsense. It's to mask what they really feel, and they don't want to tell you what they really feel or what they really think. That's all that. When people say that, oh no, there's cultural differences. I grew up in a very pro-black household, and my parents never once said, no, don't marry outside your race. They're like, hey, you find a woman who loves you, and you get married, fine, we'll accept her with open arms.
No,
well, that's another thing that people was talking about black people being accepting of any other race and just saying like, okay, you have one drop of black blood, all of a sudden now we're going to take you
That's
in.
a fact.
Ameera, can I say this?
Other races do not do that.
I know, but here's the thing. In America, if say the father is black and the wife is white and they have a child, in the eyes of America, that child is black. If the child is anything other than white, it's automatically the other race. Automatically. That's what you have to write down on your U.S. Census papers, because I know this because the government told my parents this. My mother has lineages black and Native American. Largely Native American, but it's black and Native American. My father, black, okay? But so they were saying, well, what is he just black? Since my mother was black and Native American, you know what I mean? So,
I'd say, is it the genes? Is it because when you see a mixed child,
no,
you don't see white, you see?
No,
you see
what it is with that. When it comes to the government, it's social. It's a social construct.
Well, you're not on paper.
It's the way to streamline things on paper. If your child is anything other than white and it's mixed, it's automatically the other race instantly.
When is being biracial as a child on paper beneficial to the parent?
It's never beneficial. It has nothing to be.
Oh, that's what I mean. Is that being on paper don't really matter. It's the cultural differences in the sense of when somebody sees you, they know you're black.
I know.
Hair.
I know. I'm just saying, like, when it comes to like on paper, the way the country, the government as a whole sees it, I'm just explaining that's the way the government sees it. Anything if you're mixed, you're anything other than white, you gotta make another thing.
If that was the case, there would be some kind of benefit or pro or con or that's
they're a minority.
Really existent on paper within the federal government.
Well, the thing is, they're a minority, your child, if it's mixed. So whatever minority benefits there are out there, that child qualifies for them.
But again, as a child,
we have 5 minutes, guys. 5 minutes.
But as a child, there's no instance where being biracial is more beneficial than being black or white. I mean,
I mean, well, yeah, there you go. There you have it. They don't have any kind of inherent advantage or anything like that.
That's what I'm saying is that the government putting on paper, there's got to be a reason for it. There's got to be, upside for the government to do that. Otherwise, just call them fucking
minority. Like you said,
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. Other than minority benefits, there's nothing else there, dude. I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? You're right. Yeah, other than minority benefits, it serves no other purpose other than just keeping a tally.
But culturally, you're right. Culturally, you're right.
Yeah.
You're culturally you're right, because when people see
demographics, just for demographics purposes.
Yeah, for demographics purposes.
I want to give everybody a moment to close out. I want to give everyone on the panel a chance to close out. If you guys want to, you don't have to, but if you'd like to say something in the closing, please feel free.
I would.
Beautiful conversation tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, this great panel, great conversation, and
I'll be real quick. Thank you so much for just having me on. You know what I'm saying? I just got my whole little setup here, so hopefully, y'all be seeing me again, soon. Thank you so much, Chaotic, Ameera, everybody, having me on. Everybody respectful, good, great conversations. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you.
All right. I'll close out right after him. Ameera, this is my first time on your panel. I've been watching you for a long time, very long time. Like I do, yeah. I'm quiet. I'm not in the comments, but I am watching a lot. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Seriously, and thank you for having me on your panel. Chaotic, always a pleasure, brother.
Absolutely.
Always, as you know, Social Collision. I hit you up tonight.
No doubt, brother.
Everyone, if you're human, you can learn the culture. It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah,
we're human.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if your child is a child of two different worlds, two different cultures, by the time they're an adult, they're leaps and bounds ahead of all other kids who are of one culture.
Yeah.
They learn.
I would like to go next.
Thank you so much, Mr.
No problem.
Thank you,
Thank you very much for having me. See you later.
Bye-bye.
I would like to go next. Is that all right, Ameera?
Sure.
If anybody's out there listening, I want you to like, subscribe, and share this video. Let's get these likes up. But let me tell you guys something about this whole disapproving of dating outside your race. I'm a staunch...
Really quickly.
Oh, sorry. I'm a staunch proponent in divesting, even though I'm married to a beautiful black woman. But I could bet you this. I bet you every single day, Jamaican Z wakes up in heaven. When I was a kid, my mom told me not to date outside my race. And I dated a white woman when I got into college. And I dated another one. I dated only 2 white women in my life. And I could tell you it's like being in heaven every day. So don't listen to your parents. Don't listen to your racist parents, whether you're black, you're white, or whatever. They're lying to you. They're trying to keep a secret from you. And when I date, and I mind you, I didn't marry a white woman, but I'm telling you, it's like being in heaven every day. So if you are a black kid out there, you're 19, 20, and your mom is telling you don't date that white girl, don't listen to your mom. Because that white woman, I'm telling you, is like heaven every day. Am I lying, the Jamaican Z?
No, it's different. I mean, going back and forth with my ex-girlfriends that I dated that were black. I mean, real quick, my ex-girlfriend that I was dating before her, that's the only girl that ever had me going to work with a black eye. Okay? Never. And that was her putting her hands on me in the house because she was being too loud at 12 in the night when my parents were trying to sleep, and she's being disrespectful. And I said, yo, you cannot be like that. You're tripping. And it turned into one thing. And yeah.
I thank you so much, Mr. Chaotic, for that. Was that all that you had?
Thank you so much, Ameera.
Thank you so much.
I mean, yes.
I'm sorry.
I disagree with that. I sorry, Mr. Chaotic. I disagree with that. I do disagree, but go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of the panel. It was a wonderful show. I'm pretty sure that you've done a show about why black men don't marry black women. But if you do a part 2, let me know so I can come on and give my 2 cents. But
Definitely.
Thank you all. This is a wonderful show. You guys have a good night.
All right. Good night, Patty.
Bye,
have
Patty.
a good night.
Good night. I'm gonna go next.
I love it.
Ameera, thank you so much. I really respect your boldness and your courage to have this show. It's a great conversation. God bless all of you guys. Mr. Kosher, nice to see you for the first time on the panel.
Good
Hi.
to see you there, no
Yeah.
doubt. All
All
right.
right. Good night, you guys.
All right.
See ya. Take care, man.
Bye, guys.
So it's a good topic, but I know most people don't like hearing the truth. So
They don't like to
anyway,
hear your opinion, maybe not the truth.
that's
Right.
Your
fine.
opinion.
That's fine. That's
Uh-huh.
fine. So either way, I do not in one way or the other say you should not date outside or marry outside. But we know the effect they have on the children. So if you do know the effect, don't be blind to it. I know if you can handle it, that's fine. But also be mindful for your kids, right? So it has nothing to do with not dating who you love or whatever. That's your own cup of tea. I have dated out before. I almost married a white woman before. So it's not a if I know what I know then, I wouldn't have done it. Right? So I'm married to my Nigerian sister here and I love it. So I don't have a preference for you. That's your own preference. Leave it. But we are talking about reason why culture, I mean, why most people don't want to marry, you know, out of their culture or marry black for this instance. We were talking about that particularly. And my own answer was culture. And they want to keep, you know, their race the same. They
Thank
want
you.
to reproduce the same people that look like them, their culture. So
Thank you,
that's
Mr.
all I'm
Williams.
saying. And
Thank
I wish you a happy marriage. I've been married for 9 years now, going on 10. So I really wish you a happy marriage. Okay. So I have nothing against what you guys have. We were just talking based on today's subject.
Right.
Right.
And I love you
Right.
guys.
Thank you, Mr. Williamson.
Thank
Appreciate it.
I'm gonna make the closing remark. I just want to give a special shout out to Jamaican Z. I want to make sure I clarify my position because I think there was a level of consternation about what I was trying to more or less convey to the audience. What I was trying to say earlier, as it relates to as it relates to race, once again, race as it relates to genetics, there's not enough variation between human beings to justify another species or to say we're from another race. We're all from the human race. Now, if you look at things phenotypically, like hair color and texture, then that's a different argument. But that argument is a social political construct. So when people say race, all human beings, when you look at it scientifically, are basically the same. Race is a created construct. There are different ethnic groups that come together for whatever reason. But once again, human beings are human beings. Kudos to Jamaican Z. I can see Ameera why you would more or less say keep your tribe or your ethnos together. Sometimes people do it for the sake of preserving their culture. I understand that. One will argue that black people should do that. But however, many love and blessings to Jamaican Z, because at the end of the day, from the Judeo-Christian perspective, the gospel say there's only one race. From one blood that all people come. All human beings came from one blood. So when we talk this foolishness, in my opinion, if you're doing it for survival, that's one thing. But this for spurious reasons like, whatever, all human beings, once again, can trace their common ancestry back to Africa. If people don't believe me, do the research. It's in the research. Scientists have qualified it and quantified it. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, guys.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Take
man.
care.
Have a good night. Appreciate
All
it.
right. All right. Thank you, brother.
All right. Cheers.
And then there were two. Well, three. But two cameras, three people.
Well, of course, Ameera, we're here, the last two. We love you. Love the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Glad
us
to
on.
be
It
in
was.
here.
I think it was a great conversation
It was
tonight.
a
I
great
liked it. I really
conversation.
enjoyed it. So
Closer, a lot closer lately. Like the three of us have been getting a lot more knowing each other better and everything. And Samuel has been enamored by the two of you. So Samuel
Oh,
actually
Yeah.
told me after you guys'
We spoke
conversation last
forever.
night,
yeah.
and he was telling me how much you guys are like so awesome and everything. So I think I would like to speak with you guys a little bit closer behind the scenes as well if you guys have
Sure.
time sometime this week. I'm thinking Wednesday. So
Okay.
Right. You can trust anything else. So, yeah.
Okay. No, just pretty much like I said, I mean I really enjoyed it. If anybody else is still here, make sure you hit that like and share, great conversation. From my side, I mean I really appreciate it just to have to give a little bit more exposure, because I feel like people don't have these hard conversations, and especially in today's day and age, like everybody's so afraid to bring up anything about, oh, we don't want to have conversations about skin color. Like, oh my God, like, how are you doing this?
So many people told me to not do this topic, and I mean, honestly, this is what people accuse me of anyway, of talking about this. So let's just
right.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people put on a big front, about when it comes to like race and especially even like how you speak. You know what I mean? You ever notice like for black people, you ever know like when they're amongst their friends or they're amongst their culture, it's more of like, oh, what did they get real, Ebonic and they speak whatever. But as soon as your butt is against the wall and, the cop, whether he's black, white, Spanish, is talking to you and you're in trouble. Oh, excuse me, sir. And all of a sudden, your whole dialect changes and all of a sudden you can speak so clearly and the things that you used to slur and you everything is so pronounced, you pronounce everything perfectly. And all of a sudden it's like, so why is it you cannot just speak like that when...
Well, I have that problem too. I'm going to be honest with you. I have that problem too. My husband actually called me out on it because he said that when I want to speak clearly, I can without any problem. But he says when I'm comfortable, I speak a different way.
Yeah, a little more loud. Yeah.
I really don't notice it, but he said that. And he said when I do my political shows, now you guys watch me on my political channel. He says that when I'm there and I'm ranting, I speak so clearly because I want you to hear me well, hear me clearly, and understand this. But when I'm comfortable and it's just us, when we're just like relaxing, watching TV, I just relax and my actual way that I want to speak comes out. So it does happen. It happens. And I think, it just depends on how comfortable you are.
Right. One thing I kind of want to just add really quick is, so before him, like I said, I'd never dated a black man, but growing up, like my parents will tell you, all of my really good friends as a little kid, like all of my friends were from different countries. I had a lot of friends from Haiti, Puerto Rico, I mean, from all over the place. And I was craving culture. So when I met him and I was like, oh my God, okay, so he's not American, or he's not, my typical person I would date. I actually dated a Pakistani before him, and we had a 3.5-year relationship. He was also a Muslim. You and I will have to talk about that. But it was different, but really I was really craving the culture. And it's like, okay, what I found in him, I'm like, I am fulfilled, I'm happy. Now, Chaotic, if you're still listening, I think it's so funny that you said that you were in heaven. I've been told before by other, black men, good friends of our family, who are like, oh, you make sandwiches totally different than a black girl. Like, it's like, you make it with love. Like, everything is like so nicely. Your mayonnaise and your mustard is spread so nicely.
We're not going to insult the black woman because
no, it's not. No. It's not an insult. It's a joke. It's more of a joke.
You made it with love, as if like other races don't make it with love.
No, it wasn't. No, I assure you, it was not like that. He's like, you just take your time, and it's almost like nobody else does this. They don't have time for that. They just slap the mayonnaise on, slap the meat in there. Here you go. He's like, but you cut it in half, and it's so pretty. Anyway, so that's that. That's my piece. But thanks for having us on. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
Good show.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All righty.
All right.
Have a good night.
Saturday. Or Wednesday.
Wednesday. We'll see you there.
Yeah.
All righty.
Thank you guys. Oh shoot. Did you finish?
You're good.
Thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate it so much. I know this conversation was a little bit controversial, a little bit stressful, but thank you guys for joining me, and it went better than I thought it would, and I appreciate you guys for being here with me and being so civil and enjoying it as it flowed. So I'll see you guys next Sunday. With that, I yield my time.